Is trading really for you? Not do you want it, not do you like the idea of it, but are you prepared for what it actually demands? Today, I'm speaking with Peter Robbins, a trader with over 5 decades of experience, about expectations, competence, risk, psychology, and why treating trading as a serious craft changes everything. You are listening to the Confidence in Trading podcast. I am your host, Agnieszka Wood, a trading mindset coach and a seasoned day trader with over a decade of experience. If you are new to my show, don't forget to subscribe so you can come back for the next episode. In this podcast, we explore the fascinating world of psychology and the human element of trading. We take a deep dive into different perspectives to inspire you and help you navigate the emotional ups and downs of trading with self-compassion and confidence. Whether you're just starting out or you're a seasoned pro, this podcast is your trusted companion providing support on your trading journey. Get ready to boost your confidence and unlock the secrets to mastering your mindset for success. Welcome to episode 75. Is trading really for you? Why most traders approach the market backwards. Today, I'm joined by Peter Robbins, a veteran market practitioner and the author of The Trader's Journey. The book just hit the shelves, and I'm so honored to have you here on my show, Peter, to talk about it. Welcome to my show.
Well, thank you so much, Agnieszka. I'm excited as well to be here today and so thankful for you to give me the opportunity to officially launch my book on your podcast. Thank you so much.
The honor is all mine. This book frames trading as a demanding lifelong practice, part market skill, part business discipline, and part personal development. That's a lot of things if you think about trading. Do you think that most traders really take trading this way?
Do I think they take it that way?
Yes. Do you see that in your experience with the contact with traders? You have a lot of followers, like over 100, 120,000 on Twitter. So I'm sure you see a lot.
Right. So in fact, that was really part of the motivation for writing the book in the first place, is because that is not a common approach to trading, right? And I think your title of your episode says it more like do they approach it sort of backwards instead of the way it should be. So the way you've just described it is the way I feel it should be approached. But what I see with many traders and many followers, to your point, is that they jump into the game with little knowledge of trading and without a process and without these type of things that give them a solid foundation for trading, right? So yeah, so to answer your question, no, I do not see that. In fact, I see the opposite.
That's probably also the reason why you wrote the book, right?
Exactly.
Peter, what do you think after 50 years in the markets? What's the biggest lie? What's the biggest misconception that traders still believe?
I think the biggest lie or misconception would be that it's easy. It's something that does not take a lot of work. I mean, we see this all the time these days. And again, talking about going backwards, right? People watch people promoting easy money, easy system to follow. You just jump in, open up a brokerage account, press a few buttons, and you're on your way to trading success, right? So I think people come with that unrealistic expectations and belief that that's what trading is involved. And, it sets them off on the exact wrong foot, as opposed to taking it as looking at it as a serious business, right?
And your book really forces people to confront this question. Is trading for me? Why was it important for you to include that?
Well, a couple of things. One, I've seen a lot of people approach trading that probably shouldn't be trading, right? That they're in it for the game, they're in it for the fun, they're in it for the excitement, they're in it to think they're going to make quick money fast. And oftentimes they're the ones that suffer the most. They end up blowing up their accounts. They lose hard-earned money that they've made, and having believed that this is the easy thing to do, right?
Was it something that you wanted to prevent people from getting into trading? Because part in the book, kind of like when I was reading it, made me feel like you actually do not advise people to get into trading. You are more towards like don't do it.
Yeah.
Is that the message you wanted to bring over?
No, well, it's kind of funny, right? Because a number of people were reading it as I was writing it, and a lot of I was getting comments like, "This is very negative, right? Like, why are you being so negative about trading?" And I wasn't meaning to be negative about trading. I think anyone that takes it seriously and wants to take it on either as a profession or as a supplement to their income, that if they approach it properly, then they're in a lot better position to be successful at it, right? And so it wasn't about discouraging trading per se. It was about discouraging people from, or setting realistic expectations so that if they're going to get into the business, and I call it a business on purpose, that they treat it like a business and they treat it like any other profession, right? In the sense of, you need to learn the skills, you need to get experience, and these things take time. And talk about younger people, because it's very sad to see young people approach trading. They've worked there, during high school or during university, they've made some money, and then they listen to these people talk about how easy it is, and they open up an account, and all of a sudden everything they've earned for their whole lives disappears overnight, right? And so I just really feel that a lot of the material that's out there, whether it's other trading books that maybe promote, here's a strategy, this is what works for this person, and that can be true, right? But those people have been in the business often for decades and have lots of experience, and probably have had at the beginning of their careers very difficult situations and have lost money as well, right? But a lot of people, they'll read this book and think, oh, this is easy, this is just to get into, right? So I wanted to produce something that, again, not to be negative about trading, but to be realistic about trading, and so that people can step back and think, okay, I need to treat this like any other profession, and not to have those expectations, because that's when you have those expectations, you make lots of trading mistakes, and you over leverage, you put on positions you shouldn't, because what you don't know, right?
Be more realistic rather than just like, hey, yes, it's fantastic, let's go.
Exactly, right? And so
at some point in the book, you say trading actually should be taught, and not so much trading itself, but money management. It should be taught at school.
Right. So I think I make that comment just in general. When you look at financial literacy in the country, or across the board, right? You ask people just basic questions about finance, they have no idea about it, right? So, it would be great if right from public school on, people are taught about economics and taught about, financial management, right? You shouldn't be waiting until 25 years old, you go to a bank manager and they're talking about things that you don't understand, right? It's like, this should be common knowledge. And when I talk about trading, it's not just trading, it includes investing, it's risk management, right? It's your asset management, whether it's a long-term portfolio or short-term day trading that you want to do. Ultimately, it's about, how you manage risk, how you manage your assets.
Right.
And let's face it, money is a big part of everyone's life. And to think that we approach it with such little knowledge coming out of, secondary school is kind of sad, right? So
absolutely. Your book reads actually more like a roadmap to competence rather than get rich trading manual. And what you're saying is that was absolutely intentional.
Yeah, it was intentional. Maybe not a great way to sell books, because it's not going to be maybe as sexy as some people want. But for anyone that is serious about trading or learning a bit more about the best approach, so that it gives them a better odds of success, that's what I really wanted to produce, right? So
yes, but people sometimes want something that's not necessarily good for them, and then in trading you only find it out after years of struggling and losing a lot of money. Then you start thinking, I wish I have done that differently. And with your book, you give the opportunity to people to start the right way, but not just people who just starting, but even when you are already in trading, you have included so many important things that even like for me, as someone who has been trading for 15 years, were very valuable to read. Do you think focusing on money too early prevents competence from developing in trading?
Well, I think a lot of people approach trading thinking about making all this great amounts of money. That's part of the unrealistic expectations. And again, it's funny. I've had people talk to me. It's like, oh, what do you do? Oh, on the side, I'm have a passion for trading. I've been trading for many years, and their immediate reaction is, oh, you must be really rich.
Right.
And it's like, okay, why would you say that, right? So just the fact that they would say that shows you how unrealistic those expectations are, right? So it's like, if you've got a portfolio of, stocks, why you don't just imagine that the person's going to be rich, right? So again, part of this is what's promoted out there, what people are exposed to, right? That, oh, quick money, 100% returns a day, and they believe that, and just they don't look at the risk side of things also. So they're focusing on the money, they're focusing on the potential, which the potential is there, right? But they totally ignore the
Yeah.
reality of what is involved in trading and what happens psychologically when you trade, what risk actually means mentally to you. So it's not like you've seen things where they say, oh, if you just double your account every week, right? That, oh, think how much money you'll have, right? Or just unrealistic, earnings, right?
If you just do it.
Yeah, if you just do that, right? It's all very theoretical and very, yeah, the math works out. But, if someone doubles their account, first of all, they're probably not going to double their account because they're going to get out of a trade soon, earlier than they have that opportunity for. And then, as you know yourself, right? The more money you have, then it opens up a whole different set of psychological issues because
Right.
you're thinking about, especially if you are thinking about money. So there's a couple of things, right? Thinking about money from a unrealistic expectation of what can do. Sure, that's going to that's a problem because when people think that way, they automatically think, okay, how am I going to make that kind of money, right? And the only way to make that money, especially with a small account, is to expose yourself to huge risks, right? Taking huge leverage,
Right.
putting it all in on one thing that's, you're told is going to double. And then of course the reality hits in that, all of a sudden it starts moving and you have to deal with it.
What's really fascinating to me is that everyone really focuses on the craft of trading, right? Like, I need to learn trading. And most people think that's the competence. And people think there is a huge potential in trading, so I have to learn trading. But what really is important is to build the competence to be able to use that potential, to turn that potential into the opportunities and take advantage from those opportunities. And like you say, if people are not prepared, don't have resilience, don't have the emotional skills, they are not able to take advantage from that potential, and that they will be cutting themselves short, they will be giving back the profits. But everyone focuses on trading, on the money, on the results, but they forget that it's just like diamonds, right? We know there's a rock and there are diamonds in there, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you immediately can get those diamonds. You have to know how to get those diamonds out of there. And it's work. It's like chipping away rock by rock. It's not just like, oh, I'm just going to hit it once and then suddenly diamonds show up, or that there is a wall and then you break the wall and then behind there's this stack of diamonds. And trading works exactly the same way. It's a consistency. It's chipping the rock by rock and getting every little piece first and then turning it into diamond, right? Because when you get the diamond out of the rock, it's still not looking like the diamond you want to put in your finger.
Right. And the reason I call the book The Trader's Journey is because that journey also, depending on how you take it, is either going to be successful or not, right? And to your point about, you might expose yourself. Well, what a lot of people do, what we talked about, right, is that they'll expose themselves to huge risk out of the gate. But that's the complete opposite. And I think the title says, right, that they do things backwards, right? So
Right.
in the sense of, if you want to be consistent and you want to chip away and find the diamond in the rough, you got to do it in a way that sort of makes sure you're not going to fall off and hurt yourself as you're taking that journey, right?
Right.
And so instead of the opposite, where people immediately start off, they want to make tons of money, they think it's easy, they jump in with lots of risk, it should be the complete opposite, right? It should be, you start slow, you start with really small risk exposure, you start with instruments that are not so volatile, so that you practice and build up those skill sets and build up the knowledge and build up the exposure over time, so that you just slowly add to your risk as you become competent and resilient and able to handle it, right? So how you take that journey is critical.
Absolutely. If someone reads your book expecting strategies, are they going to be disappointed?
Well, when I see trading books out there, a lot of times what they are is it's the author is a successful trader and they are sharing their strategies that have made them successful. And it's made them successful because I know me and you have talked about this a lot, right? Being aligned with your strategy, right? So a strategy that fits you, your personality, your objectives, your risk management profile, etc. But just because you read someone else's strategy doesn't mean that's going to fit you. So the idea for the book wasn't to provide, here's my strategy. It was to provide guidance for people to say, okay, where am I? What do I want out of this business? What's my personality like? And what I've provided is some examples of different strategy styles so that people can look at them and see. Like, one of the things I always recommend to traders is read about all sorts of different trading strategies, all sorts of different methodologies, all sorts of different, approaches to money management, etc. It's like if you're becoming an artist, right? You practice different art forms from different styles until you find what works for you. And it's the same thing with trading, right? It's like if you try to jump in because someone's telling you I've made $1 million on this strategy, it could be totally opposite of what's going to work for you, right? And you're not going to be able to share the same success. So, and the idea was to expose people to multiple ways of trading so that they can get that feel for, okay, yeah, that one more resonates with me as opposed to this one here, right? So I know for myself, like where you trade on the chart and what type of setup you're looking for, what type of edge you're looking for, it's different for everyone, right? So finding the one that's right for you is a critical part of this process.
And I love that about the book that you actually give the guideline of how do you know if strategy is aligned with you, because that is something that I haven't seen in any other book. As you say, there is a lot of strategies, but how can you discover, am I trading the one that fits me? At some point in the book, you're talking about some conditions that need to be met for a trader to become successful. Can someone succeed in trading if they are not genuinely interested in learning? Not just making money, but like, is it a condition? Do people need to be interested in learning about the market, about maybe in general?
Well, it's interesting. I don't know about you, but most traders I meet are very passionate about trading, and I think the more successful they are, the more passionate they are about it. So but I would say this: if you're in it for the money, then it's probably the wrong reason to be trading. It's like if you're going to be wanting to become a hockey player and you're in it just because you wanted to, score goals, right? It's like if you don't enjoy the game, and I don't call trading a game, but trading is a business. If you don't have a passion for it or an interest in it, it's like learning any other skill, right? If you want to be a golfer, you better like golf. If you're going to be a tennis player, you better like tennis. And if you want any other profession, if you want to be a lawyer, you better, be a good debater and understand and be excited about the law, right? So I would say definitely it's a prerequisite, like any other profession that you want to be interested in it. And unless you're interested, you're not going to dedicate the time and effort and what's required to become a professional, right? So
Very good. It's a great segue to my next question, because you said it's not a game, but how you do call it, you use the word gambling, and that makes some traders defensive because we don't like when someone says trading is gambling, right? Why do you choose to use that word?
Well, I guess if you look at what is the definition of gambling, right? So because there's professional gamblers, right, that make a living gambling,
Right.
right? So I don't know why traders would take offense to using the word gambling. To me, gambling is you're risking money for a possible outcome, right? It just so happens that most gamblers are not professionals. They don't know the odds. They don't know how to play so that they have an advantage. And I'll use say poker players as an example because there's a lot of professional poker players. would they take offense to being called gamblers? I don't know. Maybe they would be, but I think that, it's a risk they're taking. It's either the house wins, in which case, you're gambling without a positive expectation. They've got the positive expectancy because they know that over time and given the odds for the game that you're playing, that they're going to win and take money from you. And it's the same thing with trading, right? If you've got a positive expectation, you're still gambling, but you're going to be the house, right? Where you're going to make the money in the long run. So
Maybe it's because it's holding up the mirror, because most traders are losing money. And then when you point it out and say, well, trading is gambling, they're like, I'm not a gambler. But, it might be confronting because I think for many traders who are losing money, it might feel like they are gambling. And maybe that's even a question that they ask themselves. Am I a gambler? Do I have a problem? Do I have an addiction? Because I'm coming back to this. I keep losing money, but I keep coming back. So maybe that's just a mirror that people get defensive.
during COVID, say when, a lot of people resorted to trading and then a lot of people lost, but there was also sports betting became really big at that time as well, right? So a lot of people if you ask how many traders also do sport betting,
Right.
probably there's a lot of them, right? And chances are those are going to be the 90% that are no longer trading after a while. Or I think the other thing is because of the opportunities in trading or the opportunities in the market, just like gambling, right? There is an opportunity for someone to go to a casino, put in money in a slot machine and come away with $1 million, right? So it's the same thing with trading. There is an opportunity if you see something or you risk everything on an opportunity, you can make a lot of money. Doesn't mean you're a professional trader. It doesn't mean so that's the one of the problems, right? It is for a lot of people a casino or a gambling
Yeah.
avenue.
That's why you say if you approach trading as a business, if you approach it from a professional perspective, then the whole thing changes. And it's so great that you actually in your book you talk about trading plan, you talk about the business plan, the differences, and you have examples, because to actually approach trading as a business and have a plan and an idea and strategy of how am I going to get to my goals makes a difference whether you will be just gambling and losing and hoping, or you really work on increasing the probabilities being in your favor. About casinos, I think there is one big distinction between gambling and trading, because in gambling, you have to pay first. So emotionally, you accept the risk up front. In trading, payment comes after. Do you think that that's the reason why acceptance is harder for traders? Why they struggle more emotionally? Because now they have played, they have to pay, and it's more difficult because oh, but I didn't win, so I don't want to pay.
Yeah, it's really interesting, right? Because taking a loss or paying, right, is a major obstacle for a lot of people, right? It's
right.
Something that's why people are still holding stocks in their portfolios that they've had for 20 years because they refuse to pay, even though they really have paid, right? They just haven't actually paid it in their account
right.
officially, right? Until you actually close the trade. It's still, and again, I think you made the point about hoping, right? Well, it's going to come back, it's going to do whatever. But yeah, that idea of, having that option to not take a loss if you don't want to, and pay it's also a major psychological problem.
If someone brand new to trading takes your book, how should they approach it differently from someone, let's say, with 10 years of experience?
When you say 10 years of experience, it depends on what that experience looks like. We know people that have been trading for 10 years that are basically still beginner traders, right? So as far as the book is concerned, depending on where you are on your journey, there may be something there for you to reconsider. Even something as simple as being aligned to your strategy, right? There's a lot of people that trade a strategy for years, and they'll all of a sudden, if they take the time to really step back and evaluate their personal situation and how things have changed in their life, maybe it's like, yeah, why have I wasted so much time trading this way when I could have been doing this? So again, whether you're a beginner or not, the idea is the same thing, right? Looking at what your current situation is, looking at where you are on the journey, seeing where maybe you have misstepped or where you're struggling the most, and then focusing your effort and time on that to get back on track and then continue on the journey to success. So
Very good. If someone listening constantly feels stressed when they're trading, they're reactive, maybe even emotionally drained, does that mean trading isn't for them, or they're just approaching it incorrectly?
well, trading is a profession where you're working in an environment of stress, right? And uncertainty, risk, money's on the line, all these things. So just as a human being, you're going to feel, exposed and feel these emotions, right? I think the idea, and this is a lot of the work that you do, Agnieszka, right, where it's not about you shouldn't be trading. It's about this is an area you need to spend some time on so that trading can become pleasurable, right? It can become easier. You do build up resilience so that those negative reactions aren't so much causing you physical issues, but you can work with them and you can deal with them and address them and make the impact less.
Right.
But also, there's ways to learn from them themselves, right? They're telling you things about yourself. But I think the idea that a lot of people spend so much time on their strategy and little time on the psychological aspects of trading, right? And what the impacts are and working in that type of environment. So, I try to discuss that a bit in the book, right? Where these are human reactions you're going to get. And there's a number of common ones that everyone is exposed to. And then there's behavior that results from that. And the idea often that behavior is counter to what you need to be doing to be a successful trader, right? So again, it's spending the time really understanding yourself, understanding these reactions, and then building processes around that to help build resilience and work more towards success so that it isn't painful. It should be fun trading, right? So
Right, right. And I love how you capture that. It's such a, it's such a broad topic. I mean, I have coaching programs to help traders to deal with that pressure, to build the discipline. And the way that you have captured that in your book, very simply and really giving the basic guidelines of how do you deal with that. I thought it was very, very impressive, speaking from, my experience as a trading mindset coach. One thing to really accept is that when you trade, you're entering an environment that just creates pressure that will trigger you. It's very different from the environment that we normally operate in when we have a job and where we live. It's a little bit like, I like to compare it to the moon, right? It's very different, and you got to learn how to handle that. In fact, I will be giving a masterclass on February 25th. And if you like to understand what is actually happening when you are trading and how can you build the discipline to deal with your own emotions, to deal with all the pressure that's coming at you, and be able to withstand that and make rational decisions, I invite you to join. You can register at tradingmindsetmasterclass.com, and I will also put the link in the description. This is something that I see it over and over again, that people somehow come into trading with this idea that somehow it will be easy, like you were saying. Like how many times I have phone calls with people who are considering getting into trading, saying, you know what, I'm so stressed in my job. I just want something finally where I can relax. I'm like, do not get into trading. That's not a great idea if you want to relax, because you will be under pressure and you have to build the resilience to be able to handle it. And it doesn't matter where you are in your trading, whether you traded 10 years or 15 years, this pressure is there. It's just a matter of raising your resilience and handling it differently and building the habits that are allowing you to show up in a different way to your trading desk.
And it is that inability to deal with that is often what causes people to fail, right? And it's funny that
Right.
they continue to do the same thing over and over and continue to lose money, and they'll keep going back to their strategy, right? Oh, I must have a bad strategy. I must have a bad strategy. But again, it's about being honest with yourself and really looking at, okay, why are you still losing money, or why are you not being successful? And you'll see that oftentimes it is because you're having reactional decisions that are reactions, not conscious ones that are following your rules and following your process. And people don't want to be honest with themselves about that. And then even if they are, then they don't know what to do to deal with it, right? So that's why something like your master class and your programs that you offer are so great, right? Because it's like oftentimes people are at the end of their rope, right? They've done everything, spent so much time on strategies and got to where they want to do, and they're comfortable with that, but they keep making the same mistakes over and over and over again. And unfortunately, in trading psychology, there's not a lot of material out there on that, and there's not a lot of programs. But it's funny when you find people that finally realize it. Okay, this is what's holding me back. It's programs like that you offer really makes a difference. So I know myself, I talk a lot about the trader's edge, right? Which is having a strategy that has a positive expectation, but having the mental strength and resilience to be able to execute it the way it needs to be executed, right? And that's what separates the success from the failure, right? And
Right.
oftentimes they'll say someone gives someone a strategy, 10 different traders a strategy, and they'll have 10 different results. And often it's because, one might have the result that's expected, but the other nine will have different results because of how they reacted mentally to what was going on when they actually had money at risk, right? So
Totally. And your sentence about sharpening the tools, that you have to constantly sharpen the tools for them to perform well. Mindset is a tool. And I think a lot of people forget about it, that we have one of the most powerful tools that helps us to achieve anything that we want. But a lot of people look outward looking for tools. Well, they have the best tool ever, but they just don't know how to use it. And that's why I'm so passionate about my work, because I have seen in my life, and I have seen it in work with traders, how powerful it is, and how when you really start using it in the right way, the results that you can get. So that is what excites me about my work, and why I have been doing it now since so many years. So I would really love for you guys to show up at my free masterclass and just see how much more you can get out of the potential that it's there. Not just the market potential, but your own potential when you start doing the right things. What's something in the book, Peter, that you almost didn't include because you thought it might upset traders?
well, it's interesting, right? Because it's easy for people to sell a trading book when it's promising a lot of things, right? Um, Obviously, that's not my style. That's not my approach. So I didn't include anything like that, right? So, but what I did include, and I'm known, say, like you say, I've got a large following on Twitter, which is surprising in the sense that because I'm known for providing the hard truths, right? That was the passion behind writing the book. That was the reason for writing the book, to help people, prevent people from financial pain, give them the right tools for the journey. And so I did include that.
Awesome. It makes me really curious. If someone reads your book like seriously and really applies the things that you are advising there, what changes they can see first? What do you think they will notice when they start applying what you are including in the book?
Yeah, well, I know me and you talk about this, and the work that you do is that there's a lot of people aren't told the hard truths, right? Oftentimes the first thing is like an aha moment for them, right? It's like, oh my God, okay, that's why I've been struggling, or that's why, things are so difficult, because I've never been told this is sort of the approach I should be taking, or these are the issues that I'm going to encounter, right? So I think the first change, hopefully, is that it'll be sort of a reset of, okay, this is, it's not, promising me any riches. And until you sort of get over that too, like, this is a serious business. It is a profession you need to learn. You do need to dedicate time, and there is realistic expectations that you can make. Are you aligned with that? Then yes, approach it in this manner, right?
So it is the riches is more the consequence of building the competence which you are helping to do.
Right.
And then the riches is what naturally follows, because without the competence, you go nowhere, basically. Peter, thank you so much. This was so fascinating, and I'm so inspired by your book. And of course, I mean, we have been working together. I realized yesterday we have been working together for 5 years now, and it just went by so fast. And I have learned so much from you. Always honored to do things together, presentations, conferences, teaching together. So this was really honored to have you here and celebrating with you your book. Congratulations. I'm very happy for you to be able to put all those years of experience and all your wisdom and insights into this book that's really easy to read, and really saying how it is and showing this is what you want, this is what needs to be done. And when you do that, have your expectations in the right place, align with how you trade with the right skills, and you'll get there.
Again, thank you for having me on your podcast. I know we've been working for 5 years. We are very much aligned on a lot of our thoughts. It's really exciting that you are allowing me to launch my book through your podcast, and I really appreciate that. And anyone out there, hopefully, if you are interested in the book and you get it, that you'll get something out of it. And thanks again for letting me launch here. Thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Pleasure is all mine. So guys, if you like to purchase the book, you can go to Amazon. The book is called The Trader's Journey by Peter Robbins, and I will link it in the show notes so you can get your copy and start your journey. Peter, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you everyone for listening. If you have any questions after this episode, you can find me on Twitter. We will also link a Twitter handle from Peter in the show notes. And we'll also link Peter's Twitter handle in the description so you can connect with Peter. And if you have any questions after that, you can reach out to him. I'm sure he will be delighted to answer any questions. Right, Peter?
For sure. Thank you so much.
Put you on the spot here.
My DM's always open on Twitter. It's great to talk to people, and if anyone again has questions or wants to connect with me, feel free.
Fantastic. And this is how we actually connected. I just sent you a DM on Twitter, and look what came out of this. Thank you, Peter, for being here again, and we'll talk soon. Thank you everyone for listening, and I will talk to you in the next episode. Take care. Thank you for listening to the Confidence in Trading podcast. If you are enjoying my show, please leave a review on Apple Podcasts and tell me what you like about it. Thanks to you, more traders will be able to find me, and together we'll make a bigger impact. So thank you so much. If you are new to my show, don't forget to subscribe so you can come back for the next episode. And make sure to also check some of the previous shows. Thank you again for tuning in. This is Agnieszka Wood from Ahead Coach. Bye for now.